And here we go on our Tuesday podcast, the Hey Mary Kay edition. Mary Kay, let's get right to it. This question comes from Harley in Westlake. Hey Mary Kay, what percentage of the problems with the Browns offense do you place on Kevin-Stefanski, and what percentage on Baker-Mayfield?
It's a great question. I think there are other places to put some of the blame as well, including all of the injuries. I think you and I both can agree that Kareem Hunt coming back will help a lot, and that some of the other guys getting healthy will help. Jack Conklin coming back should help. But I put a lot of it on Baker because I just think that a really good quarterback can overcome a lot of ills. And when you look at a lot of the quarterback play that we have been seeing in the NFL this season, including just looking at that game that I watched last night, we're taping this on Monday, but just watching the Steelers and the Chargers game. I mean, there's some pretty darn good quarterback play that can overcome a lot of things. And the Browns haven't gotten that this year. And it has been the biggest disappointment of the season. Now, I think a lot of that can be attributed, or at least some of it can be attributed to Baker Mayfield's injuries. I think it's a combination of things. I think it's his injuries, other people's injuries, and what defenses are doing to him, including taking away the keeper game. And by the keeper game, we mean the bootleg rollout game. So I think it is a combination of things, but anybody who listens to this podcast by now knows that I give the quarterback a lot of credit, a lot of blame. Most people do, but maybe me more so than others. So I'm going to put it on the quarterback because you have to make those plays. I mean, Kevin-Stefanski called, I thought, good plays yesterday. I thought the receivers were open and the ball didn't go on the money. And I mean, just starting all the way from the first pass to Jarvis Landry, the wild throw over Jarvis Landry's. I mean, what was that even? Like, what was that? But it was one of many. And I don't know if it's because he cannot plant. I don't know if it's because of his knee. I don't know if it's because of the harness. Whatever the case may be, that's not the Baker that the Browns signed up for. That's not the Baker that Baker signed up for. So I'm going to put the majority of it on Baker's shoulder. If I have to put a percentage, I guess I'm going to go 60 there, and then 30 on Kevin-Stefanski and not being able to perhaps adjust to whatever's going on with Baker. And then the rest of it on injuries to guys around him.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think the injuries have to be mentioned, especially when we're talking about, they've been without Nick Chubb for games, with first the calf and then COVID. Kareem Hunt has been out with the calf. Donovan Peoples-Jones didn't play on Sunday. And, we've joked on the Picks pod that Donovan Peoples-Jones makes like 2 deep catches once a month, but those matter. Like when you have that guy that can get downfield, maybe one of those would have popped yesterday. And you need that. Even a guy like, Anthony Schwartz out with a concussion, maybe yesterday would have been a day where he could have gotten loose in the second level. So, yeah, I think injuries have to be mentioned in all of this. So, yeah, I think that's a fair percentage. And to me, it's just hard for me to believe that Kevin-Stefanski suddenly doesn't know how to call a game. I mean, we spent all last year talking about how brilliant he was sequencing plays and setting things up. And it's just hard for me to believe that that's suddenly disappeared. And so whether it's the injuries or whatever, and that Jarvis throw, the process was great. Look to Njoku, he wasn't there. Then look to Jarvis, and then he just threw the ball over his head. I mean, that's not Kevin-Stefanski's fault. It's just things like that.
Yeah, things like that. And again, I do think that defenses, and we talked about this, I really wondered what defenses were going to have in store for Baker Mayfield this season, because on one hand, you could look at it and say he will build on everything that he did in the first year of Kevin-Stefanski's scheme, and it's all going to be so much better this year. Well, that's one way to look at it. The other one is, what are defenses going to take away from him? And when they do, how do they adjust to that? How do they beat it? How do they overcome it? And again, I think they really have done a nice job of hemming him in, eliminating the keepers, and taking away one of his biggest strengths. I mean, that's what he was always out on the perimeter throwing the ball last year. And I just don't see that anywhere near as much this season as I did before. And I think that's really been a detriment along with other things. When you mentioned, yes, Anthony Schwartz out now. Anthony hasn't really been ready for the moment this year because of his own hamstring injury, but still, Odell Beckham Jr. and Anthony Schwartz were your two speed guys this year. I mean, they don't have either of them right now. Odell's gone. Anthony's got a concussion. So it changes the way that you can play. But having said all that, I still think, and we talked about this post game, I still think there is enough talent on this offense to scheme it up and to draw it up, to be able to make plays, and including some explosive plays, and win football games, especially when you have that offensive line and that running game. You should be able to hit some things in the passing game. And it's just been weird. I don't even know how else to describe it. It's been bizarre.